Where's the recording? All right, Julia, you can start letting people in and I will start streaming this over to Facebook. Hi, everyone. Okay. Hopefully you all can hear me and see me. I am just taking a second to stream this live on Facebook. Okay, we should be ready to go. Hello and welcome to day 2 of the Ready to Invest workshop. We are so excited to have you all here to jump in and start learning and breaking into the next step of what we call flipping the switch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and hopefully if you guys can jump into the chat and today, let me know that you actually see my screen today so that we don't run into the same issue we had yesterday. As you're popping in, yeah, today tell me where you guys are watching from. I'd love to hear that. And for all of those who are here today, I do want to share that if you missed day 1, where we talked about premium clients, some of what we're talking about today may not actually make sense to you. So great that you're listening in, but if you're feeling a little lost, like you've missed some piece of the puzzle, it may be because you didn't watch day 1. So if you did watch day 1 and you're here with us today, drop day 1 so that we know you've gone through that and we can kind of get an understanding of where you're at, so that as we're jumping into day 2, I have a good understanding of how many of you have actually gone through day 1 versus how many have not. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. Yesterday, we talked about the premium client. We talked about what it means to understand the 3 markers in speaking to those high intent leads. We talked about what it looks like when we understand people who are at an active state and why that's so important. And I'm going to really be clear that a lot of what we're talking about today in terms of how we flip the switch is based around the idea that we understand that premium client. We are no longer in the business of convincing, of selling to people who don't want to be sold to. And ultimately, our goal here is that our leads are selling themselves. But that's not possible if we're speaking to people who haven't already decided that they want to solve that problem, who aren't in an active state. So today, when we talk about flipping the switch, I'm going to talk about what I call the reverse marketing method that actually allows you to repel those people who can't afford it, who aren't ready, who don't want to make a decision, and how we can actually leverage automating those conversions so that you truly are only speaking to pre-sold leads. And tomorrow we're going to jump into what I call messaging moneymakers and why there's this not so secret to how we actually create immediate intent and resonance, again, based on this premium ready to invest clients. So if you heard me talk about this at all, yesterday we talked about implementation calls. We had our first implementation call today with our VIP people. If you still want to get in on this, you absolutely can. You can get a recording of our call that we did today, which was super powerful to watch people immediately start to make shifts. And we will be doing these every day after. So if you need to get access to those implementation calls and you want to upgrade into VIP, drop VIP or implement into the chat, and Julia will reach out to you and get you all set up. Now, we're going to jump right into it, okay? Right now, what I want you to understand is that you are making your audience feel around in the dark, okay? If you've ever had, my child came up to me the other day and was kind of like closing her eyes and walking around, and I was like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm just kind of seeing what I can find, right? We've all played that game where we're feeling around in the dark. Now, the problem is a lot of you are doing this with your audience. What you're doing is you're leaving them to do the heavy lifting. They go left, they go right, they stop, and eventually your ready to invest clients are actually giving up. So what we're going to talk about today in terms of flipping the switch is that you need to understand that your ready to invest clients have a different pathway. They have a different set of actions that lead them to the yes, okay? Saying yes should feel easy. It should feel good for your clients, right? We want your prospective clients to feel like that was the easiest and best decision I've ever made, okay? So drop best in the chat if you understand that, you recognize that our goal has always been that we want someone to feel yes in a way that feels like the best decision they've made all year, if not in their entire lifetime. right? That's what I love. When people come to me and they say, this feels like the best decision I've ever made. That's completely done on purpose. Our goal has never been to push and pull and get them to where we need to be. We want it to feel like the best thing. Now, again, the problem is most business owners are making it increasingly difficult for people, the right people, premium clients, to actually say yes. So yesterday I shared this graphic with you all about the 3% rule, switching around, the 3% rule, but I'm bringing this in again because I want you to understand that knowing and acknowledging that we are speaking to premium clients, we now know that we do not want to inundate our people with more information, okay? We talked about this yesterday, that the 90% of people who are not in an active state, who are not seeking solutions, are not our people. We are choosing and selecting to recognize that those are not the people that need us right now. And therefore, they're not who we're going to speak to. It's not who we're going to target. Okay. This idea of targeting is really, who do I want to bring into my business? Now, if you spent the last however many years you've been in business speaking to people and targeting the people who don't need you or don't want you, that's a crappy feeling. Okay, we're going to speak to the 10%, the 10% of people who seek change, the 3% who have the active buyers. We want the people who want change. Okay, so we talked about this. We talked about from the fact that what you need to understand is if every day we're talking about one offer this week and another offer the next week, and we're trying to solve for the gap of what we think is the problem in our business, but all along it's been the fact that we've been targeting the wrong people. And unfortunately, in doing so, we've inadvertently repelled clients who actually wanted to say yes, okay? So knowing who we want to speak to, knowing how we want to speak to them, knowing what actions we actually want them to take is going to inform the entire structure of how we sign clients into our business. And the good news is, it's all about simplifying. It's all about streamlining. It's all about removing barriers from their process to saying yes. Okay. So I want to share with you guys a quick story that when I was around 17 years old, I worked at Best Buy and I worked in the camera department. And by the way, I knew nothing about cameras, so that's what you get. And what happened was I was told to help people buy cameras, right? That was the whole thing. What I noticed was that there were two types of people. There was the type of person who walked into the store, kind of looked into one section, maybe the CDs and the DVDs, and then looked at the appliances and then came into the camera section and they were browsing, right? They were just looking around. Now, the problem was that person, if I came to them and started immediately jumping at them and sharing information and giving them everything, they felt hounded. They felt overwhelmed and they felt turned off by me, okay? Now, the problem was that was my window shopper client, okay? They instantly felt like they were at high alert and like they asked hundreds of questions and ultimately they said they weren't ready to buy because they weren't, and my head hurt. And as I mentioned to you guys yesterday, I was horrible at sales and the idea of doing this day in and day out just felt horrible, okay? But what I started to recognize is that there were certain people who walked into the store, they made a beeline to the camera department, and they came with this intent to buy. Now, what I learned very early on was that the way I spoke to, the way I marketed to, the way I sold to somebody who was ready with the intent to buy, that walked into the store and said, give me that camera, versus the person who came in browsing, looking around, window shopping, was very different. Now, the problem is most people in their business haven't understood that these are two different people that are doing two different things. And therefore, they've developed an entire system, strategy, process that's speaking to the version of the client they've never actually wanted, the person who didn't want to make a decision. So when we understand that these are two different people, there's the person with the intent and the person that doesn't, it shifts exactly everything about the strategy, the way we speak, everything that we do. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about understanding and recognizing the system and the strategy behind targeting the people who do want to take action so that we can speak to them appropriately and take them on the right journey. So it starts with reverse marketing, what I call the tunnel to yes, okay? When you do this correctly, people come ready, eager, wanting to hand you over their money. They want to solve their problem. Why? Because you check all the boxes and you make saying anything but yes feel downright stupid. But in order to make that happen, there are 3 things that you need to be able to accomplish. And I'm going to go through them. But number 1 is that you need to make them feel seen, heard, and felt. If you know their internal intent, you know their external intent, and you recognize the value intent, all things that we talked about yesterday, you can accomplish helping them feel seen, heard, and felt. Okay. Number 2 is you mimic how they naturally make decisions. You mimic their natural behavior. Okay. When I talk about getting leads to sell themselves, the reason is I'm not going to do the opposite of what they want to do, which is make a decision. I want to mimic how they naturally make the decision. So making a decision of saying yes feels natural, feels easy, feels like it's the natural course of events. And number 3 is that we've conditioned our audience to buy. Okay. And I'm going to break down all of what this looks like, but we're going to start with understanding that idea of tapping into them and knowing being seen, being heard, and being felt. So again, you have to understand that your premium client, your target audience, doesn't feel really seen, heard, and felt, okay? They're kind of going through the motions. They're in this online industry where they feel like a dime a dozen. They feel like a notch on someone else's belt. They don't feel like you get them. And we talked a little bit yesterday about this whole idea of unlearning and why it's so important that if you're going to go through what I'm sharing with you over the next couple of days, there's this element of unlearning that has to occur. And one of that is the fact that we don't need a niche, right? I told you that niching isn't what's necessary. But what is necessary is being able to create a specific message, a tailored approach to serving that allows your audience to feel seen, okay? If they don't feel like a number and they feel like you understand their story because either you felt it before or you've watched others experience it and you know what that's like, and you hear them because you've taken the time to listen to the needs of the market and theirs personally, okay? This is where we identify opportunity because we've heard. We haven't just pushed out what we've wanted. We've understood the need and necessity, the gap, okay? It feels personal. And because of that, they feel felt. They feel the deepest connections when we feel important, we feel listened to, we feel cared for, and it builds this instant connection. It removes barriers of friction that are typically felt. And the truth of the matter is we've been told for a really long time that that takes ages to create, right? I know that when I started in this business, I was told it takes 8 to 20 touch points in order to convert a lead. And that felt really freaking overwhelming. Okay. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, drop a 2 because that's overwhelming to think that I have to wait so long to serve and support someone. That's the way I look at it. I have to wait so long to be able to intentionally support someone into action. But the truth of the matter is when we can understand these common elements and understanding people at the right level of intent, we no longer need 8 to 20 touch points. We can do what used to take 90 to 180 days in a matter of hours, okay? And it starts with, again, that tunnel to yes. We want to create a straight shot so that the clients who are ready and actively seeking for a way to say yes can do so with ease, okay? And again, the truth of the matter is most people make this process hard. We talked yesterday about the idea of speaking to people who are already in motion. Okay, we want to be able to do that. We want to keep them in motion. We want to be able to identify the people who are sitting there and saying to themselves, I know I want to solve this problem. I know that this is a hot topic for me, and I'm not willing to give up until I've solved it. That means that if we're not doing this and we have a process that actually doesn't support them in staying in motion, we're either creating friction and a barrier for people to say yes, or we're attracting people that don't actually want what we have. Okay, I use the example of a dentist. Imagine that someone comes into the world and there's 2 versions of that buyer. Version number 1 is somebody whose tooth doesn't hurt, they're fine, but they know that they need to find a new dentist. And so they're not actively seeking, they're passively seeking. They're saying, I need a dentist at some point, at some time, but it's not a priority to them right now. But person number 2, they have a toothache and their tooth is like throbbing and they need a solution now. Now imagine that those 2 people and there's 2 dentists, and dentist number 1 says, yeah, come into my world, hop onto my email list. And when you're ready, go ahead and maybe we'll be around. Now, the problem is that dentist is tailoring their approach, their marketing, their entire system of how they acquire clients to somebody who's not ready to make a decision. Now, dentist number 2 has a frictionless process that when you come in, they quickly explain to you what they do, how they do it, and they let you sign up immediately. That person, that dentist, has tailored their entire client acquisition approach to speak to people who want to make a decision. There's a difference. Do you want to be dentist number 1 or do you want to be dentist number 2? Do you want to attract people who want to actively seek a solution, or do you want to be the person who's just attracting people who don't? If you want to be dentist number 1, who is speaking to somebody who maybe down the line needs support, drop 1. But if you're number 2, I want you to drop a 2 because I want you to hear that. I want you to recognize you are speaking to the person who is actively seeking solutions. And I'm going to give you examples of what this looks like and how you may be inadvertently making this mistake in your marketing right now. So we have Browsing Brenda. Browsing Brenda is a window shopper. And honestly, this may hit hard for some of you. And I'm going to tell you right now, my intention is nothing but to help you serve and support and make the right decisions. But you may go through this and say, oh my gosh, I'm the Browsing Brenda. And that's okay. I want you to recognize that and understand it. But Browsing Brenda is a window shopper. Okay, she's got a problem, but she's not really prioritizing it. She's kind of like, I need a dentist, but not right now. It's not that big of a deal. She hangs out in every group. She's soaking up as much information as possible. She spends hours on social media and she treats her time like it's a renewable resource that she can never run out of. Okay. Freebies are her favorite and indecision is her comfort zone. She complains about the problem and she says she's desperate to fix it, but she jumps from one thing to another. And she lacks clarity and direction because she has so much information, but she doesn't know what to do with it. When you market to the Browsing Brenda, she often feels more overwhelmed, more stuck, and more like she's never going to make it. Okay? She has no idea what she needs. She knows she has a problem. She has no clue what solutions are out there because she hasn't taken the time to do that. Okay. Now, here's what you need to understand. Her marketing love languages are checklists, downloads, freebies. Oh my, she goes to every free workshop, every challenge, every $27 offer out there. She wants a quick fix because she's desperate. And she hangs out in all those groups, all those email lists, and she spends months asking the same questions. I'm going to tell you this. You're going to see these people show up in the same places over and over again because I see it all the time. Okay. I see the same person that comments on every business coach's comment post out there because she's hoping that someone, if she gets enough of the free information, she'll finally have a solution. Okay. Now let's look at Investing Ingrid. Okay. Investing Ingrid is actively seeking a way to solve her problem. She values and knows that she's narrowed in on what she needs to do. She's looked for solutions. She knows what's out there. She knows her time is money and she uses it wisely. She's looking for a solution that works and fills a gap. She trusts herself to make the right decisions. Okay. Now her marketing love languages are that she loves quick case studies. She loves audio-based trainings that she can listen to while she's doing something else. She's straight to the point. She wants those 5-minute trainings that get her what she needs to do. She doesn't need to be educated on the problem. She just needs the down and dirty information that gives her just what she needs in order to make a decision. Now I'm going to ask you the tough question. Do you want Browsing Brenda's or Investing Ingrid's? Which one of those do you want in your business right now? Drop it into the chat and let me know, because I want you to actively recognize you want Investing Ingrid's, right? That's who we want in our business, the person who invests in themselves. And I don't just mean money. I mean, they invest fully in seeing the potential of what they want. We want lots of Ingrid's, but let's say up until this point, have you been speaking to and attracting Browsing Brenda's? If we're being totally honest with ourselves, have you been falling into the trap of doing all the things that attract Browsing Brenda's? Now I'm going to ask you one more tough question. Are you Browsing Brenda or Investing Ingrid? Do you recognize the value in what you want to do? Do you know and seek a solution that you want right now? Because here's the truth. We have to be that version, right? We have to be able to understand that. So I want you to take a hard look, okay? I want you to take a hard look at who you are and make a decision. Do I want to be Browsing Brenda or do I want to be the Investing Ingrid? So here's what you need to understand. Okay, we want our people who sell themselves. And the truth of the matter is sales isn't as confusing or as hard as we've been taught to make it. Okay, I'm not trying to pretend like it's the easiest thing on the face of the earth. but it's also not hard. It's simple. It's straightforward, okay? Most of what we do is simply creating friction and trigger sales resistance because we're actually working against human behavior instead of with it. And I'm going to show you examples and exactly how this works and what it looks like and how to shift it, okay? So here's what we want to be able to do. We want to be able to really support people in two areas of their brain: the logical brain that gets the information that allows them to naturally allow them make an effortless decision, and giving their emotional brain the connection to be seen, heard, and felt, right? That instantly builds trust. When we do those two things, boom, they're ready. So again, the typical process is we've been taught this window shopper funnel. It's got a long sales cycle, it attracts the wrong people, it gets people to jump through hoops. They're feeling frustrated, and then you're starting to wonder, why the hell is this not working, or why is it not working fast enough? Okay, so again, let's do a little unlearning. Let's break down that marketing at its core has always been intended to do one thing. It's been to help people, the right people, make the right decision. I want you to literally let that sink in. Marketing and the intention of marketing has always been and should always be to help the right people make the right decision. Does that mean that every right decision means that it's going to lead them to you to buy and work with you? No, but I want my marketing to do the job that I bring the right people to make the right decision. So drop right, because I want you to really like write it on a sticky note, put it on your screen, whatever you need to do. But I want you to hear that the intention of my marketing is to help the right people make the right decision. Plain and simple. When we can help people do this, they don't have objections. They don't have fears. They don't need convincing. Saying yes feels like the logical option. Okay? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what it means to help people make the right decision. Now, I'm going to tell you that all the funnel crap, all the stuff that we've been taught in marketing, while it's okay, doesn't actually help us do what we need to do. Marketers have taught us, and I say this as an 18-year marketing expert, marketers have taught us to say what we want to say to get people to buy, okay? But the truth of the matter is, if we can use their natural behavior to make buying feel natural, they can sell themselves. So you're gonna see here, right here, is actually how people make decisions. This is the step-by-step approach to how somebody naturally makes a decision. They identify what the problem is, they gather information, they identify what alternatives are, or how they can solve that problem, they weigh the evidence, they envision the possibility, and they select the solution. Cool, easy, right? Yes, you can get this graphic, Samantha. This is what it looks like. So we're gonna take away this idea of what funnels were, what we've been taught, and we're gonna say that we know that marketing is to get the right people to make the right decision. So now that we understand what it looks like to help people make decisions, this is actually how people make it, we want to understand that what we're going to do is recognize that different people make decisions differently. So I mentioned at the beginning of this that I used to work at Best Buy, right? And I recognized very quickly that if I wanted to be the top salesperson, even though I sucked at sales, I knew that I had to understand the right person and help that right person make the right decisions. Now, here's what you need to understand. My window shopper, the person who didn't actually want me to talk to them, they hadn't done any of these bottom three things. They hadn't identified their problem, they hadn't gathered their information, and they haven't identified alternatives. Now, I realized really quickly that the person who made a beeline for the camera department, the person who was walking in there, they did a lot of research. They came in already knowing the features, the benefits, all these great things. And if I talked about that, all I did was repel them. All I did was make them feel like the idiot that they weren't. And they would totally walk away. But what I realized was if I skipped these 3 steps because they'd already done all that heavy lifting for me, because they're a premium buyer, and I instead helped them only with these last 3, they bought everything. And I'm talking everything, guys. Like I was the top salesperson in that store because I learned that I didn't need to understand all these things that I thought people needed. Those were the window shoppers. That's the information I needed to do for them. But my person who's making a beeline for the camera department needed a different way of buying. And so I'd start to ask the right questions. I'd start to ask them what they wanted to use that camera for. And then I'd connect it back to, well, if they want to take pictures of their child on the soccer field, then they really needed to have the best zoom. And the camera with the best zoom was this. So I was able to connect dots for them that they didn't even realize were there. Only because I understood how that person made a decision differently from a window shopper. So I want to take a quick second and see how this lands for you. And you can drop, yes, makes sense. You can drop mind blown, whatever it is you want to say. Do you understand that your premium client is making decisions in a totally different way? And when you can recognize this, when you can support them in this, they make active, quick decisions and they feel really freaking excited about it. We're not going to tailor it to my slow window shopper buyer who, by the way, hates the fact that you're pushing them and forcing them and making them feel like you're all up in their face versus the person who walked into the store ready, wanted to make a decision. And guess what? People would come in and they'd buy the camera, they'd buy the case, they'd buy everything else because I learned how to speak a language that made them feel seen, heard, and felt. And I was able to develop a system that had people jumping at the bit to want to get what they wanted to do. And people laughed at me. They said, how does the girl who doesn't know how to sell, who sucks at sales, was able to do this? Because I didn't sell. I supported them in making a decision that felt like their own natural decision. Okay. And that's exactly what we want, right? We want leads who can sell themselves. They're coming to you having done 50% of the work. That's awesome, right? The fact that we can say that your premium leads have come into your world already doing 50% of the work means that they've done a lot of the heavy lifting for you. What they need support in are these three final pieces. Okay. The things that they need to sell themselves is if they need the information that allows them to feel empowered and easy. They come to you having already gathered the information. They're now weighing the evidence to decide what they need to do. This is where they need clarity. This is where we move them into action state, right? They're already actively seeking, but what they don't need is more information, more education, because that just weighs them down. It puts them into decision fatigue. What we want to be able to do is say, I know that you have all the information. You've done a lot of the heavy lifting. What you need now is someone to support you in weighing the evidence and deciding based on the things that you found, what's the right solution for you, okay? Because the truth of the matter is they're not the expert. You are. You're the person who can say to them, listen, based on these characteristics, these qualities, these things that you're looking to do, here's what you need, and connecting that dot for them that allows them to weigh the evidence and literally takes away all the other solutions out of their way. Because our goal at this point isn't to give them more, it's to take things away. Okay, so I want you to write takeaway, because I want you to understand that goal number one when leads sell themselves is we take away decision fatigue. We take away information and we clear the way for them to make better decisions. Okay. Step number two is helping them envision the possibilities. Okay. I want them to see, is this possible for me? How can this specifically work for me? When we remove that confusion and make it crystal clear what solution they specifically need, they now start to think of, oh my gosh, how could this work for me? Okay, just like I guarantee every single one of you here are probably doing for yourself right now, you're probably sitting there saying, oh my gosh, how do I do this for myself? Your brain is racing. You're looking for ways to support the evidence in your own world so that you can envision the possibilities of what this will look like for you. So ultimately you select the solution. Mind-blowing, right? I'm taking you on the same journey that I'm telling you to take others on. So here's what you need to understand, okay? Have you ever played the game Follow the Leader, right? Somebody leads, you're trying to mimic their behaviors, you're doing what they need to do, okay? Now, with this in mind, you are the leader. They're going to follow you based on where you lead them. But if you don't know where you're taking them and you don't know what action steps allow them to make the decision, do those things that we just talked about, those 3 steps that allow them to actively make a decision that feels really good, then it feels like you're creating a parking lot of people who don't know why they're there, much less they don't know what they need to be doing, okay? Bye, Tammy, that's okay. So here's what you need to understand. The first 48 hours when they enter your world are the most important because actively they're making a decision in those first 48 hours, okay? They're making 2 decisions. Do they trust you? Do they believe that you can solve the problem, even if they haven't fully made that decision, okay? They need to know those 2 things. If they don't know those 2 things, it's like reviving a dead man. You feel like you're trying to fix a problem after the fact. We don't want to do that. So I want you to realize if someone comes into your world in the first 48 hours, how can we help them decide that they trust you, by feeling seen, heard, and felt? And how do they understand that you are the solution to their problems, that they believe that you are someone to trust to decide on their problems? Those two things. So this is a visual. I have a lot of people who are visual learners. This is what it looks like when you let them guide themselves. You're the expert. This is your house. You're not asking them to rummage through your house and go through every drawer and every door and attempt to go where they need to go. You need to build them a map. You need to hand it over to them and say, hey, you're looking to say yes. Here is the map that gets you to that yes. Okay. You are developing the map, the strategy, the system that gets them to where they're going. We are not allowing them to rummage through your home, through your Facebook group, through your email list, and hoping that they come to the right decision. Okay, which leads us to that last piece, right? We want to create a pathway that conditions people to buy. Now, the truth of the matter is most people either don't have a strategy or they have a strategy or a system when it comes to their marketing and client acquisition, but it's not conditioning people to buy. It's conditioning people to hang out, think you're really, really inspiring and really cool, but they're not actually buying, right? We want to condition people to buy. So how do we condition people to buy without feeling like we're harsh selling? Again, we set the tone from the very first interaction with you. We talked about this at the beginning. We don't want browsing Brendas. We want investing Ingrids, which means we're setting the intent from the very first introduction to you that we want them to make a decision, right? Decision for the right person, right? We know those two things have to happen in order for them to say yes. So we want to set that intention from the very beginning, and we want to give them a treasure map that helps them decide if they're the right person and if they're making the right decision. When we do this, it's like a treasure map that makes uncovering you and your offer the gift that they want more of. I call this the ready to invest treasure map, okay? Knowing that your people are coming to buy, we're setting the intent that you are the solution. You're not back-end selling. It's not like this naughty word where we're going to catfish someone into thinking that they're coming for one thing, but we're going to sell them on another. Nobody wants to do that. We've all been on calls where we thought it was a connection call, but they're actually selling me. We're not going to do that. We want people to know that, yeah, I'm going to sell you. I'm going to give you a solution and you're going to freaking be grateful for it because guess what? You want that solution. Okay. You set the tone for how people will buy from you. So you got to decide right here and now if you want people to come to you knowing that you will solve their problem and knowing that they want to make a buying decision. They want someone desperately to help them fix it because why wouldn't you, right? If you're here and I say, guys, I have a solution for you and it's sitting here on a silver platter, why would you not want to say yes to that? No one wants to feel like they're being thrown around. The problem is we don't actively support people in making that decision, okay? So we are actually now looking at driving traffic based on buying. We're speaking to the action state of buying. We're moving them into active decision-making, okay? And I'm gonna show you what we do, what my clients and I do, that leads people to saying yes within hours, within days, within a short time frame. Number one, we're targeting premium clients. Okay, let's not get this twisted. At the very beginning of everything is that do we know that we're targeting the right person who wants to make a decision because right person, right decision. So we want to target premium clients. Step number two is the traffic. You want to create the right traffic that sets the intention of buying, not hanging out. Now, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I spend time on social media. I look at a lot of people, and a lot of people are developing systems and content and showing up in ways that just gets people to hang out. And that's great. If you're not in the business of creating massive transformations and you don't want to grow your business and create the life that you want, that's okay. But if your intent here is that you want to change massive freaking lives and change the world in your own way, then you need to develop a traffic system that does just that. I want people to see you and say, she's the person I need to solve my problem. So we use what's called one-touch content system. I'll talk to you a little bit more about this tomorrow and what this looks like, but it really sets the intention of resonating and creating an intent to buy because they want to. We're actively moving them in the direction of what they want to do. And then we nurture people. So again, things like live launches and workshops. And before any of you ask me, you're like, Naz, this is a workshop. This is a live launch. If you guys don't know this already about me, this is actually not my typical sales system. Okay. what I'm doing here today is in place to support and inform people, but this is actually not my sales system, because I know that this type of sales system is not going to target the people I want. It's not going to get them to do the things I always want. Okay. So I'm going to be very freaking clear about it, that I know that sounds crazy, but this is not my typical sales system. Okay. Because what your goal in this is, you want to attract someone who understands that their time is more valuable than anything else. You want to get them to understand that they're there to buy, and you want to nurture them into pre-selling themselves to say, holy crap, yes, I wanted to make a decision like yesterday, and you empower them to make decisions. So my clients do all of this. They know how to talk to, speak to, understand their premium clients, so that when they go out into the world, it doesn't matter where they are, TikTok, Facebook, in an in-person retreat, they know how to speak to and attract a premium client. They know how to drive traffic using a system that is leveraged based on wherever they are to get people into an action state of buying. And they know how to leverage a sales system that pre-sells people, so that by the time they're getting on a conversion call, that person has already decided they wanted to say yes, because they're empowered to make decisions. And all of these things are laid out very specifically. So I need you to start thinking about that. Does my sales system, does my current process of how I acquire clients allow me to do these things? If the answer is no, because maybe you've been speaking to the wrong people, maybe you haven't known how to help them make decisions, it's time to start evaluating that. Which leads me obviously to the next piece, okay? Just like I've been sharing everything with you up until this point, if you're ready to create something like this, you want to be able to get leads that sell themselves, you want to develop a system that allows you to accomplish these things, I want to invite you to a blueprint call. I don't want to catfish you. You all know you're here because I want to support and serve you to making the next step of that decision. So if that's you and you're sitting here and your mind is blown and you're saying, holy moly, I've been doing this wrong for so long and I want to step away, I want you to drop.
Sit with you.
Sorry, we're going to, Julia, can you mute whoever's unmuted? If you want to do that, drop blueprint, send us a message, send us a carrier pigeon, it doesn't matter. But I want you guys to start recognizing the fact that I want you to lead yourself. And I want you to be able to support and build something that allows your leads to sell yourself. And the first step is with a blueprint call. So if you haven't noticed, my goal is never, ever to pressure someone. I want the right person to make the right decision. That's exactly what we do on a blueprint call. We sit down, we look at your current client acquisition system, we look at where the gaps and opportunities are. I show you how my methodology helps you solve that, and we make an active decision together. Okay, so if you want to learn how to do this, drop blueprint, jump into my messages, click the link under the replay video. These are the next steps I want you to start looking at when it comes to being able to serve and support your clients into actively making those right decisions. So now what I want to do is I want to open it up. If you guys have any questions right now that I can answer for you, then you can jump in and I'll be more than happy to answer them. If not, I'm going to let you guys go. I know we ran a little bit over our time, so I just want to be respectful of your time. The blueprint calls are free, guys. So if you want to jump on, it's a free blueprint call where we will sit down and again, evaluate your current client acquisition and we'll look at that. So if you guys want to jump on a blueprint call, I have had people, and again, I'm very particular about who I share the next steps with if I feel it's a right fit for you, but otherwise you'll walk away having the knowledge and know-how of what is currently missing in your process in order to do that. Samantha, in terms of what's a best way to launch a challenge, that's a really loaded question. I'm not sure I can answer that here and now. But I guess it really depends on what is the decision that people need to make and what are the steps that they need to go through in order to feel like they actively can make that decision. So based on what we've shared here today, what I would look at is what are the things, we'll send you that graphic of like what people do to make active decisions. We'll look at that and say, okay, how can I answer those within my challenge in order to support people to do that? All right, if that is all, guys, I will let you go. I hope that you guys enjoyed this training. I can't wait to see how you start applying this, how it starts to look in your own life, and so that you start to learn how to get your leads to sell themselves. And we'll be back here tomorrow at noon Pacific Standard Time and 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to chat more about what this looks like to actually create the messaging that is going to make you money and attract those right people. So I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll chat with you guys all soon.